Timber's a better defender.
No, he's not.
He
Don't
is.
lie. You know Reece James a better player. You're lying, bro.
He's just better than Timber at every single metric of football. Like whatever you think. What isn't he better?
No way.
What is Jurien Timber better than Reece James at?
There's something different about Reece James this season. Not the armband. He's worn that before. Not the praise. He's heard that for years. It's the way he's walking into the biggest games of 2025-26 and quietly taking them apart one by one. Man of the match against Forest on his 200th appearance. A goal, an assist, pure authority. Man of the match against Arsenal, controlling a midfield of Zubimendi, Marino, and Declan Rice with 10 men on the pitch. Then Barcelona, a night built for pressure, yet he played it like a training session. Midfield dominance in the first half, right back mastery in the second. And Liverpool? When Chelsea's defense collapsed through injury, he simply stepped into center back and rebuilt the entire structure with his voice, his positioning, and his calm. Right back, midfielder, emergency center back, captain, creator, protector, whatever the match demands, Reece becomes. 13 Premier League appearances, Champions League nights, nearly 600 passes at 88% accuracy, duels won in every role he plays, and somehow he's doing all of this without noise. No theatrics, no exaggeration, just football, played at a level that makes everyone else look rushed. This isn't just the story of a talented academy boy anymore. It's not even the story of a comeback. This is the silent resurrection of Reece James, a captain who doesn't shout, but leads a new Chelsea era simply by dominating every blade of grass he steps on. Before you understand what Reece James is doing in 2025-26, you have to remember just how close people were to writing him off. Not as a talent. Nobody ever doubted that. They were starting to doubt his body. The turning point wasn't a goal or a trophy. It was a decision. In December 2023, when his hamstring went again, there was this horrible familiar feeling around Chelsea. Here we go again. Another scan, another statement, another timeline. The same conversation on every show. Can you really build a team around a right back who never stays fit? This time he didn't try to rush back. No miracle deadlines, no race against the World Cup, no we'll see in 3 weeks. He went under the knife, surgery, 5 months out. For most players, that kind of layoff is a pause. For Reece James, it became a reset. While Chelsea stumbled through a chaotic season, he lived in the shadows. Gym, treatment table, training pitch, repeat. Morning after morning, the captain of Chelsea was doing the most boring work in football. Isometric holds, band work, controlled sprints, just to earn the right to feel normal again. The cameras weren't there. The stadium noise was gone. All that was left was a question he had to answer for himself. Do you still believe you can be that guy? When he finally stepped back onto the pitch in May 2024 against Nottingham Forest, it wasn't about minutes, match sharpness, or any of the usual cliches. It was about proof. Proof that his body could carry his ambition again. He came on, didn't hide, didn't play safe, and within moments he was affecting the game, stepping into midfield, demanding the ball, threading the pass that set up the winner for Nicholas Jackson in a 3-2 comeback. On paper, it was just an assist in a late season game. Emotionally, it was a statement. The captain is still here. That summer was supposed to be quiet. Instead, it became the beginning of his second career. While the headlines focused on transfers, systems, and Enzo Maresca's ideas, Reece was doing something more important. Teaching his body a new normal. No more yo-yo conditioning, no more rushing. Just repetition, control, balance. For once, the plan wasn't just to come back, it was to stay. The reward came with responsibility. With Azpilicueta gone and the dressing room turning younger, Chelsea didn't go shopping for an outsider to wear the armband. They handed it to the kid who joined the academy at 6. Reece James, club captain. Not a marketing choice, not a PR stunt, a message. His first full season back as leader wasn't about perfection, it was about building again. There was one more hamstring scare early in 2024-25, a reminder of the past, but this time the pattern didn't spiral. Short spell about, managed return, smarter minutes. Every time he had a setback, he came back with more control, more discipline, more awareness of his limits and strengths. And slowly, the conversation around him changed from is he finished to if they can keep him fit to they look like a different team when he plays. That feeling crystallized in Europe. The UEFA Conference League isn't the most glamorous competition, but for this version of Chelsea, it was a lifeline, a chance to remember what winning feels like. Every knockout night, you could see the same pattern. Chelsea might wobble, the young forwards might lose their rhythm, but the tempo would reset every time the ball found the captain on the right. Sometimes he was overlapping high and whipping balls into the box. Sometimes he was tucking inside, playing almost as an extra midfielder. Always, he was the reference point. When Chelsea finally lifted that Conference League trophy, the image that mattered wasn't just blue confetti or fireworks. It was Reece James, hands wrapped around silver again, the same badge he'd grown up dreaming about pressing against his chest, but now with a scarred hamstring and a hardened mentality behind it. This wasn't the fairy tale of a wonder kid breaking through. This was a man who'd been to the medical room too many times and refused to let it define him. Then came the Club World Cup. Different stage, same theme, big pressure, unfamiliar opponents, long travel, the kind of tournament where bad habits and weak mentalities get exposed. Instead, Chelsea looked organized, aggressive, calm, and at the center of it all, again, was their captain. Not screaming, not pointing at himself, just doing the basics at an elite level, winning duels, recycling possession, stepping into midfield when the game needed control, sprinting wide when it needed width. Another trophy, another picture of Reece James lifting a cup in blue, from surgery table to world champion in little over a year. But the moment that truly summed up the comeback wasn't even a final, it was a league game in October 2025, back at the City Ground in Nottingham, the same club he'd faced in that emotional comeback cameo. This time it was his 100th appearance for Chelsea, 200 games for the team he'd supported as a boy, 200 games that included academy nights, Champions League finals, and all the lonely rehab sessions in between. He didn't just show up to tick a milestone, he dictated the entire rhythm of the match, linking with Neto and Estevao, stepping into midfield to overload Forrest, then appearing late in the box to seal the win himself. A goal, an assist, and a man of the match performance in a 3-0 victory that ended a manager's tenure and reminded the league that Chelsea were climbing again. That night, standing in front of the away end, badge in one hand, fist in the other, you could see it in his face. This wasn't relief anymore. This was ownership. He wasn't just surviving his career, he was taking it back. The story had flipped. Reece James was no longer the talented fullback everyone felt sorry for. He was the foundation Maresca built around. The captain teammates looked at when the game was slipping. The player other clubs measured their own right backs and hybrid midfielders against. The rise had been impressive. The fall had been brutal. But this chapter, the comeback, is what changed everything because it set the stage for what we're seeing now. A fully fit Reece James in a Chelsea side hunting big things again. And in 2025-26, he isn't just back. He's rewriting what his peak looks like. Reece James didn't just return this season. He came back with a new purpose. Not to prove he can stay fit, but to show that when he is on the pitch, Chelsea become a different team. October 4th, Liverpool at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea entered this game with problems, injuries everywhere, a back line that changed every 10 minutes, and Liverpool throwing everything forward. Midway through the second half, Chelsea lost Badia Chile, then Akeampong. The entire defensive structure collapsed. But Reece James didn't panic. He simply moved into center back, calmly, naturally, like it was a position he had played all his life. From that moment, he took control. He tracked Salah's runs. He battled Isak in the air. Chelsea eventually won 2-1 with a stoppage time goal, but the real victory happened earlier. Reece James kept the team alive long enough to win. That night was the first sign that this season would be different. November 25th, Barcelona again at Stamford Bridge. On European nights like this, players show who they really are. Against Barcelona, Reece James showed he is more than a right back. Maresca started him in midfield, a tactical decision for control and physicality. Reece dictated the game with calm passing, time tackles, progression through tight spaces, and leadership in possession. Then at halftime, with gusto off, Reece switched to right back without losing rhythm. The numbers were outstanding. 38 out of 42 passes, completed 8 passes into the final third, 4 out of 6 duels, won 4 accurate long balls, 1 assist, 1 shot on target. FotMob rated him 8.3, the best on the pitch. But the performance was more than stats. Barcelona tried to attack the middle. He stopped them. They tried the wings. He stopped them too. Reece James didn't dominate one position that night. He dominated the match. November 30th, Arsenal. 5 days after Barcelona, Arsenal arrived with the best midfield trio in the Premier League: Declan Rice, Martin Zubamendi, and Eberechi Eze. And to make things harder, Chelsea went down to 10 men when Caicedo received a red card in the first half. Everything should have gone Arsenal's way. Instead, Reece James stepped forward and took control of the midfield like it belonged to him. He protected the ball, carried it with confidence, and kept Chelsea organized under pressure. Then came his moment, a perfect corner delivery. Chalobah rising. Chelsea 1-0 up with 10 men. Arsenal eventually equalized, but the message was clear. Reece James outplayed their midfield with a man down. It wasn't just talent, it was leadership, the quiet, steady kind that players trust. Across all competitions, the numbers behind his season show a player in complete command. 580 passes, completed at 88% accuracy, 22 completed crosses, 58 duels won, 19 aerial duels won, 19 tackles and 16 interceptions, 2 free kicks, scored 1 goal and 3 assists. 4 Champions League games, 1 goal, 1 assist, 89% passing. But the numbers only confirm what the performances already showed. One player at the center of all of them, right back, midfielder, center back, captain. This isn't Reece James getting back to his best. This is a new version, smarter, calmer, stronger, and more complete. A leader who transforms Chelsea every time he steps on the pitch. This is the 2025-26 resurrection of Reece James, a captain who carries the badge with maturity and makes the game look simple, even when everything around him is chaos. Every manager who has worked with Reece James has admired his talent, but Enzo Maresca didn't just admire it. He redesigned his entire system around it, because in a team built on structure, positional play, and control, Reece James is the one player who can shift the shape of the match without breaking the shape of the team. Under Maresca, Reece James has become more than a right back. He has become the tactical hinge, the player who connects Chelsea's ideas in possession with their identity out of possession. This is why Maresca trusts him everywhere. Most footballers have a best position. Reece James has best roles, multiple ones, depending on what the match needs. This season he has played right back in a traditional back four inverted fullback, stepping into midfield double pivot alongside Moises Caicedo, right-sided central midfielder and build-up third center back when Chelsea protect the lead, outright center back when injuries hit. None of these were experiments. None of them disrupted the team. Because Maresca knows one thing clearly, Reece James understands space like a midfielder and defends space like a defender. That combination is rare. That combination is why he trusts him anywhere. When Chelsea build from the back, they don't play with a flat back four. They form something more fluid, 3-2, 2-3, 3-1-3 shapes, and the key to all these transitions is Reece. As soon as Chelsea enter the middle third, he steps inside, takes the ball under pressure, switches play with both feet, connects Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo, and the wingers, helps overload midfield, dictates the tempo with short, sharp passes, opens passing lanes by positioning, not speed. He isn't just coming inside, he's becoming an extra midfielder, one who is calm under pressure and sees the pitch like a deep playmaker. He is Chelsea's press-resistant valve. Opponents try to trap the pivot? Reece drops in, opponents cage the fullbacks. Reece steps wider, opponents overload central zones. Reece carries the ball past them. This tactical intelligence is what makes Maresca trust him in big games. Barcelona, Arsenal, Spurs, because he can change the rhythm with a single adjustment in his positioning. There are moments this season where Reece has moved beyond the pivot and positioned himself on the right side of midfield. From that zone, he becomes a ball progressing machine, a safe outlet under pressure, a long ball distributor to Estevao and Garnacho, a connection point for triangles with Neto and Caicedo, a threat for late arrivals in the box, a crosser in dangerous half spaces. It was from this role that he dominated Arsenal, stepping past Rice and Zubimendi, carrying the ball into midfield and taking control after Caicedo's red card. It is the same role he used to overwhelm Barcelona's midfield before switching to right back in the second half. Maresca's system depends on finding superiority in midfield. Reece James gives him superiority naturally. There are defenders born to play center back. Reece is simply built to understand the game. That's why Maresca trusts him in chaotic moments. He applies structure where others lose control. Maresca comes from the Pep Guardiola school of positional play, where fullbacks must step into midfield, help create numerical superiority, control transitions, keep the ball with intelligence, play inside passes, not just overlaps, build the game with composure. Reece James fits this philosophy naturally, physically strong, technically gifted, two-footed under pressure, press-resistant, elite game intelligence, comfortable in multiple zones. Reads triggers better than most midfielders. He is not just executing the system, he is expanding it. 2025-26. Reece James is not the same player as the 2021 Champions League version. He is even more complete, defends like a center back, carries the ball like an interior midfielder, crosses like a winger, presses like a 6, shoots like a number 8, reads the game like a captain. He is the modern defender every manager dreams of, not stuck in one role, not tied to one function, a hybrid built for a tactical era where versatility is king. This evolution is why he has become the most important player in Maresca's team. He doesn't just fill the system, he makes the system flexible, and that is why Chelsea's structure collapses without him and becomes fearless when he is on the pitch. In a football world obsessed with headlines, noise, and narratives, Reece James has built his comeback in the quiet. No dramatic interviews, no emotional speeches, no point-proving battles with doubters, just performances, just leadership, just football of the highest level. From the chaos of Burnley to the tactical chess match against Barcelona to the fire and intensity of Arsenal, one truth has become undeniable. Chelsea look like Chelsea again when their captain is on the pitch. Not because he scores the most goals, not because he celebrates the loudest, but because he gives this young team the one thing every great side needs: stability. Every touch, every switch of play, every duel won, every decision made under pressure. Reece James plays with a clarity that makes everyone around him breathe easier. And maybe that's why his story hits so deeply, because this resurrection didn't come from luck, it came from work. It came from belief. It came from refusing to accept that injuries would write his legacy. Now in 2025-26, Reece James is not chasing his old form. He has surpassed it. He has become the heartbeat of a new Chelsea, one that is faster, younger, more fearless, and built on the foundation he provides. The rise was impressive, the fall was painful, but the return is something else entirely. This is not just the comeback of Reece James. This is the beginning of the era he was always meant to lead. And if this is what the captain looks like now, the rest of the league should be very, very concerned about what comes next.